What's up, everybody? Ricky Carruth here. Welcome back to another Zero to Diamond show. This is show number 2 since I started doing this in this format. Today we got Parker Gray with us. What's up, Parker?
What's going on, Ricky? How you doing?
Just chilling, man. Trying to make it all happen, you know?
Yep.
So the reason I wanted to bring you on is because you're a newer agent, kind of going through that struggle in the beginning of building your business, building momentum. And so I thought it would be really cool to have someone at your level, come on and kind of talk about what you're going through, because this is the part right here that people really need to hear. They need to hear about the struggle and the vision and how you need to, the grind that it takes, the vision that it takes, the actions and the routines and everything we've been talking about. So, like, how long have you been in real estate?
So I got my license last April, but kind of like a lot of people who start in real estate, they're kind of clinging on to a previous job, which is kind of the situation I was in. Went through the training at Keller Williams, but didn't really know what I was doing. A lot of people who get into real estate, they're making some kind of a lateral move, or, they might have a general understanding of real estate. But like when you talk about somebody who knew nothing about real estate, like that was me when I got my license. So, I mean, I hung on to that job until, like January of this year. I had kind of a health thing in between there. And then, but really, I wasn't really doing anything productive and didn't know what to do or where to go, because I was just mangled up in all these different real estate scripts and didn't have any kind of a sphere or anything like that. So, I mean, I've had my license since then, but it wasn't until really December, January when I found your stuff and started clinging to it that I really became an agent and, started taking it seriously.
Cool. So what was your other job?
So I actually, I'm only 22. I think I'm the youngest agent in my office. But when I was in high school and I was 17, I worked at JCPenney, worked my way up into management. And then we started selling major appliances, I want to say 2017. So I got into major appliances sales and I excelled, did really well at it, was in the top of my district. And then I kind of was just looking to take sales to the next level, but I also knew I wanted to get into property investments. And so after talking to some business owners and people that have done property investment, they said, there's no better opportunity to learn real estate and to get a jump on the market than to become an agent. And I already wanted to be in business anyway. So both of those worlds kind of collided and here I am.
Right. So are you still working your job? Or are you doing real estate?
No, I have it on the back burner. I mean, I'll come in for a shift every couple of months, until I basically term out, because I still get paid time, but I am 100% all in on real estate. So that's where I'm at. Yep.
So, okay. So you started taking real estate serious in December, January.
Yep.
What happened at that moment, and what did you see? What happened at that moment what was the switch that flipped that changed everything and made you go in this direction?
Yeah. So, Ricky, honestly, I realized a couple of things. Now, there was a guy that came into our office, and I can't remember, he was with, I think it was Tony Robbins. He was with Tony Robbins, and he did a speech on motivation, and he talked a lot about your why. And he said, you're never going to go anywhere if you don't have a strong enough why, and you really have to understand why you want to do something in order to truly get there. And I knew all the potential that there was in real estate, and I realized, man, I got a girlfriend that I want to propose to and get married to in the next couple of years. I want to, buy a house. I want to have kids. I have all these big plans, and so that's the moment I was like, okay, if I really want to take these things seriously and I want to provide for my family, it's selfish if I choose not to put every ounce of energy that I can into real estate. And, there'd been hiccups and bumps along the way, and sure, definitely a lot of growing pains trying to learn the business and prospecting and all those things. But seeing things finally start to come to fruition has been big, and just the understanding that there's a lot of work that goes into it. And if you want to be successful, you have to really put the work in. That realization when that speaker came in and said, you're not going to do anything unless you have a strong why, that really opened my eyes and made me think about what my why is.
Yeah. Like I did a video on how to focus at work. Did you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and like the whole thing was, I mean, you have to have this, what is your bigger reason for why you're doing what you're doing? And if that is something that makes you jump out of bed in the mornings, then that keeps you focused. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
It makes you focused because you know that that's what you're chasing is bigger, this bigger reason, this bigger why. So before we am I echoing in your end?
You sound okay on my end.
Okay. So before we got going on the podcast, we're talking about like routines and how you've kind of realized that getting into a routine has been really big. What's your routine? Like what are you doing? What do you think is causing you to maybe step up the production and are there holes in it? Like are there things that you're trying to get better at?
Oh, for sure. To be honest with you, that was my biggest that, and up to this point, the routine and the time blocking has been my biggest crutch. And it's not something a lot of people, like to admit. But one thing people don't think about when they get into the real estate business is it's the staple of real estate in my mind is time management, and you have to manage your own time. And so I thought it would be easy because I'm generally a driven person, but then you realize when it comes to the decision where you can stay up and watch a basketball game until midnight or 1 o'clock or play video games or do whatever, choosing to make that decision because of what your ultimate goal is proved to be more of a difficult decision to make than I thought it would be. So, before I would, just kind of mess around, and I would get up, 8, 9 o'clock, get into the office at 10. And, that was kind of my routine, and it really wasn't a routine at all. But now it's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, in order to be serious and to make money, you have to time block, because if you don't give yourself a certain window of time to get something done, then you'll just flounder around and not get it done. So now I'm getting myself into the routine that, okay, I want to get up and get to the gym, and I want to start prospecting by 9, until 11. If I have any admin work, I can do it then. If not, there's, continue to call. Obviously, you have deals and other things that may get in the way, but if you treat that prospecting time like it's the most important thing and don't let other things get into the way of it, no matter what's going on around you, you're still going to be generating that business for 3 or 6 months down the road. Like a lot of agents around my office, they run into the problem of they get into the business, they have a big sphere of influence, they do 2, 3, 4, 5 deals right away, and they're real busy, but they didn't prospect during that time. So when that dries up, they have nothing that they filled their pipeline with that keeps them going. And so I've realized that that's super important in this business. And if you're starting from scratch, you got to find leads somewhere. And I'm not going to pay for Zillow to, take over us as agents. So I just made that decision. Like, look, if I want to be successful, it might be a slow grind, but you got to get up, you got to prospect. And so that's kind of been my staple in the last month or so to really get going. And once I do my prospecting, it seems like the rest of my day tends to follow.
Yeah, for sure. So just for everybody watching, what are your numbers this year? I want to know this just to prove that like this doesn't happen overnight. I want to know where your numbers are. I want to know what you see going forward. But what have you sold? What do you have listed? What do you have going on right now?
Yeah, so this may be, and I know, like, I've been fairly active in the group, and I know it might be a surprise, but up till this point this year, I've done 3 deals, which have been self-generated, and then I have 2 under contract right now. I have a myriad of buyers that I'm working with currently that we're waiting to find things for them. And then I have a lot that I've put in the pipeline from circle prospecting, which has been my primary method of business. So, I mean, and honestly, through the beginning portion of the year, I wasn't totally in on prospecting or wasn't doing it consistently. But I've realized that it is crazy, and there is no way. I mean, if I continue at the pace that I'm prospecting, there's no reason why I can't hit 20 or 25 deals this year, at least if I continue at that pace. And that's what I'm trying to hold myself to. So, and I have a couple active, I think 2 or 3 active listings right now as well. So I'm definitely working my way up and really trying to backload the year and fill everything out by continuing to prospect every day.
What do you see for like the vision? What are you Where do you see yourself in a year to 2 years?
I mean, I know it might be a little lofty for a new agent who's as young as I am, but I mean, my original goal at the beginning of the year was to make 100,000 in my first full year, which I know is a very attainable goal, and it's going to take a lot of work to get there because, and this is probably something we'll talk about, later. But being a young agent has its certain challenges and certain benefits. But one of the things that I don't necessarily have the luxury of is having friends that I graduated with that are looking to buy houses right now because they're still in college. So I know in order to hit those goals, I'm going to have to rely on prospecting efforts to build my sphere in order to do those deals and get that done. So that was the goal I set for myself, was 100 grand in the first year. And so I'm trying to hold myself to that. But all I know is if I'm taking the proper actions, even if I don't get there, if I know that I did the prospecting and I made my best effort, I can't control the outcome, but I can control the efforts I put in to try to meet that goal.
Yeah, I mean that's, I mean that all this is exactly how it should be. Like, and so like the grind happens. You don't see a lot in the beginning, but however, when the momentum starts to build and you start to feel that snowball building up and the pressure building up because you have so many people we've had great conversations with, so many people
Absolutely.
getting this weekly email, so many people knowing who you are and what you're about, that you're here to help, you're getting the word out. And then, word of mouth starts to spread. You start to get referrals,
Yeah.
and like everything starts to come together. So are you experiencing any of that, or do you see any of that coming?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I will tell you. So I've had a couple leads. Actually, one of my closings was from an investor that was given to me. But um, one thing that I've realized is that a lot of people will treat certain leads like junk or certain price points like junk. But for me, I want every client from the bottom price point to the top, I treat like gold because, like you teach in your philosophy, every client is worth 10 to 20 deals. And those people that might be investors and aren't looking at high price points, well, if they're successful investors, they're going to buy a lot more properties with you. They're going to sell their personal stuff with you, and they're going to be so appreciative of your services that they're never going to let their friends or family members work with anybody else. So not only that, Ricky, but just through like, I've had people on the phone that were just so happy with how low pressure the script was, and like how much of a breath of fresh air it was to hear something so non-invasive that they've said, hey, like, send me cards in the mail. Like, I have a couple friends that live on my street that might be selling this year, and I'd love to, I'd love to refer the business because you've been really helpful, and you're not like some of the other agents or people that reach out and cold call and all this other stuff. So just exuding that like zero to diamond mentality through the cold calls and through every other interaction to real estate has been an absolute game changer, whether that be the for sale by owners that I'm starting to work with and, hopefully convert into clients if they don't sell, but just that whole mentality of it. Even though I've been really practicing about 5 months, I've already seen people who have, been willing to offer me referrals just by displaying that I don't care if I get the deal attitude. I just want to help you.
Yeah, it's so simple, right?
Seriously, I'll go off on a little tangent here, tell you a quick story. So I met with a for sale by owner last week, and I called him. It was real simple. Just asked how he was doing, what in the world I could do to help him. He said nothing. I said, well, I didn't use, the buyer script. I don't have a buyer. I'm not going to yank his chain, but I said, I'd love to come and take a look at the property and love to meet with you, say hello. And if I have anybody who's interested down the road, I'll, be sure to bring them by. And as soon as I walked in the door, the guy says, I'm not signing paperwork. And I was like, I know, I told you I was coming to see the house. I don't want to sign any paperwork. I'm just here to see the house. And I went in with the zero to diamond mentality. So I didn't care about the deal. I wasn't thinking about handling objections. I was thinking about how can I get to know this guy and offer him value and do what I can to help him. And so I got to know him in the process. We sat down. I gave him the for sale by owner guide I put together. I said, hey, if I can help you host an open house, I'm happy to do so. Anything I can do to help you out, just let me know. And he said, you know what? The last guy that came through here, he shoved a contract in my face. he was so high pressure, I almost kicked him out the door. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, "You're going to go very far in this business." And he said, "If I choose to work with anybody, I want to work with you." And I'm not blown out of proportion. I'm not trying to sensationalize the story. That's exactly how it happened. And it had nothing to do with me. It just had to do with the mentality that this group provides, which is the relationship is always more important than the deal. And guess what? Even if that guy does sell himself, because a lot of for sale by owners have been able to, just because the market's been really hot, it doesn't matter, because I've built a relationship that I'm gonna work on continuing to build forever. And if not this deal, I'll get referrals from it. And I feel confident and comfortable in that.
And then what happens if this guy never calls you back, never gives you a referral, doesn't do any deals with you or anything like that?
It doesn't matter. I mean, like you always say, I mean, who cares? If he doesn't call me back, all the phone calls and the time I'd spend talking to him, then that's fine. I can go out and find 5 other deals in the process, and it doesn't matter. It literally makes no difference to me.
Yeah, I mean, people are so worried about like wasting time on prospects that may not buy, may not sell, or may not produce a deal. And it's like you have to risk and invest that time for a possible return on that time invested. And sure, I mean, there's a lot of investments that don't pay off. There's a lot of times you invest your time and it doesn't pay off. That's part of the game. And that's one thing I think people really need to think about, you know, and understand that little quote that I have where the more time I waste on people, the more money I make.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true, man. Like the more time I waste helping people, like I'm not getting paid a dime right now for this interview. I'm not getting paid anything for it. But however, I'm seeing comments coming through about people that are 20 years old, and you're giving them confidence and proof that you can do it. And
That's so important.
yeah, I mean,
So
stuff
important.
like that, and the fact that we're, you know, that we're here to help people regardless of whatever it is that we're doing, we're bringing value, right? You're going to get a return on that time invested in the long run. And it's the quickest way to do deals today. You know, like the guy that was a for sale by owner that, you know, said that he would do a deal with you. He's ready to sell. And like, has he sold yet?
He hasn't.
Yeah, see, there you go. I mean, there's a possibility he may turn around and list that with you. You're
Oh
staying in
yeah,
touch.
absolutely. I'm staying in touch, and part of my thing with for sale by owners is I offer to help them with an open house, and you know, obviously it gives me the opportunity to generate some leads in the process because it makes a warmer call for the neighborhood, or I can go out and door knock and I can meet people at the open house. But just the relationship aspect of it, and them knowing that I'm willing to help them, you know, without asking for anything in return, that's honestly something that a lot of people are impressed by, and it gives me an opportunity to build business as well. But yeah, oh, absolutely. He's motivated to sell, and he already told me he's inclined to list if he's unable to. And, you know, told me he wants to work with me, you know, if that time comes, but I'm not worried about that anyway. It doesn't matter, but of course, keeping in touch. Absolutely. Yep. 100%.
I think the cool thing is that you gave yourself the best opportunity to be his agent. And then you just let the chips fall where they fall.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, like I think this business, if you think about it like this, we're all putting our name in the hat to become the agent for different clients. There's a, you know, for every client you talk to, there's a possibility they'll use you and there's a possibility they won't. But your name is in the hat for there to be a percentage that they will use you. Okay, so you have a percentage with that person. Okay, cool. Now we talk to this person. Now we have a percentage with this person. Okay, cool. Now we move on. And if we can put our name in as many hats as possible to just the possibility to be their agent, you're going to hit some of them. You're going to hit a number of them.
Yeah, that's why, that's funny too, because people are like, I had a horrible call session today, and I talked to 10 people and half were bad numbers, and I left 50 voicemails. And I'm like, when I sit down and have a day like that, I'm like, cool, 50 people heard my name in their voicemail. So that's 50 people who know who I am now that didn't before. So you know, what the greatest thing about your philosophies is you teach people to perceive every single thing as a win. If you can see your cup as half full instead of half empty at every opportunity and at every bend and every turn, that mindset will allow you to push through any negative thing that you could come across in real estate. And so putting that into my own business model and my everyday life, it's allowed me to not get down when somebody thinks I'm too young to help them, to not get down when somebody, tells me that they don't think I can get the job done. It doesn't matter to me, because my personality will speak for itself. My hard work will speak for itself, and I will make my way if I work harder than everybody else and show people I care about them more than anybody else. And that's all that matters to me.
Well, the funny thing is that older agents, there's clients that don't use them because they're too old.
Right.
Right. And then like people who are really experienced, some agents don't want to deal with them because they're too busy. Right.
Exactly. And that's where we fit in.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is that for every stage in your career, you can call out an excuse or find a client who doesn't want to deal with you because you are whatever you are.
Yeah.
Okay. But the fact is that there's this whole other group of people that want to work with you, that love you, that will be your loyal clients forever. And I think a lot of agents run into a couple people who say, I don't want to deal with you because you're young, or I don't want to deal with you because you're old. And then they start stereotyping and thinking that, okay, well, I'm just too old, or I'm just too young. And they don't realize that if they would just keep going, they would find these loyal clients that are out there for every single agent. There's an unlimited amount of loyal clients for every single agent. And if they'll just keep putting in the work to talk to enough people and putting their name in those hats, then they're going to run into all these people that want to do business with them forever and give them all their referrals and so on and so forth. So switching gears a little bit, I want to go back to this open house for sale by owners.
Yeah.
Is there a deal that you kind of work out with the owner as far as like, what if, there's a for sale by owner sign out in the yard, and you're hosting an open house, what if the buyer comes in, and are you worried about the buyer just calling the for sale by owner? The number's right there on the sign, or do you work a deal out with the owner, or how do you do anything to protect yourself, or do you literally just go into it just totally unprotected and just say, look, I'm just going to just provide value and help this guy and try to do what I can do. And if they, whatever happens, or what do you do?
Honestly, that's the approach that I take. I mean, some people would say that's not a prudent way to do business, and that's fine. But the way, and honestly too, I've had for sale by owners that are kind of on the ball and understand that will make mention of it. And they actually say, well, you're doing the work for me. So if somebody comes in and writes an offer with you, then that's fine. Actually, one that I met with last week that said, well, if you'd like to do an open house, that'd be awesome. I'd love for you to do one for me. And she said, well, if I have somebody that reaches out to me and doesn't have an agent, can I just tell them to call you? Because she doesn't want to deal with paperwork and stuff on their side if they don't have an agent or don't know what they're doing. But yeah, no, as far as the open house goes, I also have an understanding too that, whatever, if they call the for sale by owner, that's fine. But I'm sure if I have 5 people come to my open house, 2 are looky-loo neighbors, 1 ends up writing an offer with the owner without coming to me, and then 1 is somebody who's looking 6 months down the road that I have an opportunity to convert as a client. I still have 4 or 5 people that I met with that I can add to my database, send them the weekly email, and do a deal with them in the future. Not only that, but that seller is going to be super happy with me. And even if they don't get an offer on the property, that's where I feel like my value and the chips are going to start to fall, because how do you not list with somebody when you're providing them so much value and showing how much of a professional you are? I mean, if I were somebody and I were in that position, there's no way I could work with anybody else. But even if they don't, again, it's fine. It doesn't matter. But personally, I don't set up all those rules and protections because I'm just trying to build a relationship with that owner, and it doesn't matter for me personally.
I see you as like being a super like powerhouse agent in like 3 years, like doing, 70, 80 deals a year.
I hope so, man. I really do. That's the goal. I really hope so. And I think for me, I really don't care about, the money and a lot of things. I just there were so many what ifs and questions about, can young agents really, really do it and be successful? And I think for me, I would love to do that. And more than anything else, I would just like it to be a symbol for other people that are young who may have questions about whether or not they can do it, that yes, you really can. And if you have confidence in yourself and believe in yourself and you care about people and you try to learn and grow every day, that you absolutely can do that. And hopefully I can be an example of that in a couple of years.
Well, you have the mindset, you know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing. Everything is up here. It all starts in your mind. Like even the physical work of it's yourself telling you that you have to do it. It's your big why that's driving you, that's keeping you moving. What is your big why?
I would say my big why, I think it's kind of multifaceted, but I've had a long time girlfriend. I have not bought a house yet. So I really want to buy a house. I want to be able to retire early. And here, and I can't remember what book I read, but the, the time and money that you have, I mean, money's great, but money buys you time. And I want more time to spend with my loved ones and people that I care about. So being able to have more experiences from the money that I'll be able to make is going to be something that really drives me. But for me, being able to get married, buy my first house with my hopefully future wife, and have kids and have all that come to fruition because of my efforts in real estate, that really is my big thing right now. That's my driving force of everything that I'm doing right now.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's awesome. So how do you split your time up? Like because you're obviously circle prospecting, you're
Yeah.
obviously going after for sale by owners, you obviously have buyers that you're working with.
Mhm.
How do you split your time up, right? What's your deal there, and where did you get these buyers?
So I'd say the most of my time is spent on circle prospecting. Actually, in the last month, I started triple line dialing, which I would definitely recommend to people who are committed to cold calling, because I automatically saw a difference in numbers. And I know that numbers don't matter, but just for the simple fact that I'm able to talk to more people in a shorter amount of time. So I don't lose my flow. So instead of talking to one person every 2 or 3 minutes, sometimes it's every 15 or 20 seconds that I get somebody on the phone. And so I'm flowing from conversation to conversation a lot better. But the majority of my time is spent there. Like today, I made 250 some calls today. I think at 5 email addresses and one investor that I set up on a property search, which was
How long did it take you to make those 250?
250 calls. Well, between putting them into my CRM, I'd say total like dial time, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, maybe.
Like
So
a quarter of a day.
yeah, which is crazy. And the first deal I ever did, was from an investor who I called on the phone. We saw a property that day, wrote an offer on it that day, got it accepted. And now she just emailed me the other day. She wants to look at another one, and she's got between 2 and 5 of her investments that she wants to list. So obviously it's time well spent. If you get one of those clients out of a random cold call, then that's amazing. So seeing the results of that already definitely pushes me to do that. And like I had a couple of rough days, but then I had an amazing cold call with this investor who's looking for rental properties and flips, who is also going to be selling himself in the next couple of years. So I'm just adding these people to my database. I think long term, even though it's a slower game, like I just haven't been fortunate. Some people will call and they'll run into 2 or 3 people right away that are looking to sell now. I haven't had that luck, but you just can't control how those chips fall. But I've added lots of people to my database that are looking in, 6 months to a year, that kind of a thing. So it starts with the circle prospecting. I don't have a huge market, so expireds are not super prominent right now, especially because it's a seller's market and things are coming off for a reason if they're not selling typically. So there's not a lot to work with there. So honestly, circle prospecting and for sale by owners are the large majority of it. And then one thing I'm really trying to leverage more is social media. I've never been a big social media guy, but my buyer that I'm under contract right now, who's a friend of mine, he ended up reaching out to me because he saw a picture that I posted with my previous clients at a closing. So I'm also realizing that being active on social media is important. So I'm trying to allot a certain portion of my day to that as well. And one other thing I'm starting to implement is I want to do something every month where I interview a local business owner, and I use a little bit of ad spend on Facebook just to build my local brand and give some local businesses some free publicity around me. I've heard some agents who've had some success with that. So I'm trying to diversify my business a little bit, but the staple is always going to be from cold calling. And then my buyers right now, one of them is a circle prospect, one is a sphere of influence, and then I got a couple in the pipeline right now. I'm not sure where they're at, and then hopefully some listings very soon that have come from circle prospecting as well.
That's incredible. So what's your daily routine like? Give me your get up in the morning. What time? What happens?
So here first of all, I'll tell you what my routine is and what I'd want it to be, because I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, I know that I'm young and I can make excuses, but I could have done more deals by this point this year if I would have been more committed. And it's okay to admit, because we all have these struggles. But my routine, a lot of times I'll wake up at 7:30. I want to get up at 5 or 5:30 to get to the gym, because I'd much rather do that in the morning as opposed to the afternoon, because it helps me more with my day. I'll be to the office at 8:30-ish typically, which is again later than I'd like it to be. And then 9 to 11 is usually my best prospecting window. And then I will try not to let things interfere with that. And if I have anything going on with home inspections or emails to answer, I'll try to do that between like 11 and noon, take a short lunch break. And then basically I've been doing calling a lot from 3 to 5. So I'll try to, in between that 1 to 3 slot, I'll try to do some market research. You know, I can respond to direct messages, you know, check email, which doesn't take a lot of time. And then market research, just learning more about my market, learning the neighborhoods, trying to familiarize myself with more things so I can be the most knowledgeable agent, I think is really important. So I try to spend as much time there as possible. And then most of my appointments, I'll try to schedule later in the day, like, you know, 5:30, 6 o'clock. So I can really hit that lead generation time in the late afternoon, early evening. But depending on how the chips fall with my schedule, if I have to change that up a little bit, that's fine. But that daily prospecting, at least those couple hours in the morning, I always try to make sure that nothing will change that.
So you prospect in the morning and then again in the afternoon?
Yeah, that's my, I don't always in the afternoon, depending on what I've got going on. But yeah, what I found that this is just from my experience, but 9 to 11 is a great window. And then Chad Maines, who was on with you yesterday making calls, he and I typically call 11 to 1. So if I don't have anything going on, or if I don't have admin work to do, I will make more calls with him. But my best windows for calling personally have been between 9 and 11 and 3 and 5. If for expireds, usually if you do those earlier in the morning is better before they get hounded by several agents. But for general pickups, 9 to 11 is the best. And I actually don't do bad with 3 and 5. I don't know if other people have had similar experiences, but that's been a really good window for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always liked 9 to 11's always been my favorite time.
It's the best time for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know why it is, because you would think it would be the worst time. That's when people
I know.
I know. And then people always try to, you know, make excuses about what time they're calling and when the best time is and all this stuff.
I mean, it doesn't, I mean, as long as you're making the calls, that's the most important thing. But I think one thing about 3 to 5, like I've tried to call like 5 to 7, and people get really grouchy when you're interrupting their dinner. So the people that you're catching that are getting off of work early, you know, I tend to have a little bit better luck with that. But before people have to face all the stress of the day, I think that might be why 9 to 11 is so good, because you know, they don't have those blowups at work and they're getting off at the end of the day and they're pissed off already. And then you're calling them and, you know, but it all works. As if you're making the calls at any time, that's more important than not doing it at all. So
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Question for you, bro.
Yeah.
What is the deal with you not getting up if you want to get up earlier?
Yeah, I don't, you know what, to be honest with you, I don't know. I think I don't like to. And one thing that I learned when I had a guy who came into our office with Tony Robbins, he said, if you want to do something, you have to want to take the action that you need to do what it is you want to do. I know that's confusing, but like if I'm really pumped and I want to prospect at 7:30 or 8 o'clock or whatever time you want to get going or be at the office or be to the gym, you can want to go to the gym all you want, but if you hate going to bed at 9 o'clock, then you're not going to do it. So you have to learn to want to take the action that's going to get you to do what you really want to do. So my issue is just, I don't like going to bed at 9 o'clock. So I'll just let other things mentally get in the way, or other things I have going on. And that's been definitely a crutch for me. And I know that things will improve tremendously for me if I just make that commitment to myself and say, all right, I don't care what you want to do. You just have to do it. And then once I get into the routine of that, then things will shape up better. And when you have that routine, everything else kind of falls into place.
So you want to do it, you just don't go to bed early enough?
Yeah, it's just one of those mental things where it's selfish. You know, like if you don't make the calls, it's selfish. If you don't do the things you know you need to do to be as successful as you can to provide your family, it's selfishness on my part.
So what time do you go to bed?
Depends. Again, I mean, it can be, sometimes it can be 11, sometimes it can be 12. There's a playoffs game I really want to watch, could be 12:30, and that's really the thing, is just I'm not a drinker, smoker, nothing like that. It's not like I'm out partying or nothing. It's just, you know, it's not something I've been good about thus far into my career.
I think if you just start waking up early, you know what I'm saying? Like if you start getting up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, whatever it is that you want to get up, you will automatically be tired.
Bro, you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, if you reverse engineer that and you start getting up early, you force yourself to get up, you will get tired at 8, 9, 10 o'clock. You will go to sleep. And then if you just go through that first week or two and make yourself get up, you'll adjust. Yeah, dude, and you'll start falling asleep. The reason why you're able to stay up later is because you got all that good sleep in the morning, you know, and your body's not tired yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think another part to it too is if you force yourself to get up, then you're going to be like, man, that was stupid to go to bed at 12. If you force yourself to get up at 5 and you're like, man, I'm not going to do that again.
You don't even have to worry about that, bro. Your body will shut down.
Yeah, it will. Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
9, 10 o'clock, dude, I'm done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think you should start working on that, because when you do get up early and you do hit the gym early, and that's kind of like your time to just kind of like let your mind relax. Your phone's not ringing. Nobody's hitting you up. You know, you have that time to really think and concentrate and work on yourself and visualize the day. You know, that's what I do in the mornings. So it's big for me. I mean, it's huge.
Oh, I know. I see your all the stuff on Instagram, and see when you got the coffee brewing at 4:30 in the morning. Oh, I know, I see it. And honestly, I know that it's honestly, if you want to be successful, I know, because when I forced myself to do it and I never got into a full routine, but when I was up and I was at the gym really early in the morning, man, just that energy and that fire that I had for the rest of that morning and throughout the day, you know, just feeling good about going to the gym, it really, really does carry through. You know, you just have to have enough sleep in order to make that possible.
Another question, man. So like you're doing real estate full time.
Yep.
No other job, just kind of like maybe part-time at the.
Yeah, I still have, you know, ties there. You know, maybe when I say part-time, like once every couple of months. So I'm basically all 100% in on real estate. Absolutely.
So do you have other forms of income that kind of help you pay your bills? Because 3 deals this year isn't enough to pay bills and stuff, right?
Yeah, no, because that's the thing. I was going to start renting, because I was going to college before I got into real estate. So I was still living at our estate. And so before I decided to start renting and get my own place, I decided to stay there because I didn't have a lot of income I didn't have a lot saved up before I got into real estate. So that's my current situation. And my girlfriend has an apartment. So, I basically split time at both places. So I don't have a lot of bills and expenses right now. So that's been a huge luxury getting into the business, because it's allowed me to kind of go through these growing pains without having to worry too much. So that's why I'm really trying to capitalize on that, because a lot of people don't have that luxury. And if they struggle, then they have to get part-time work, whereas I don't, and I have time to figure it out and still support myself. But I've made most of my business has been in the last couple of months. So I've been okay now that I'm starting to do business.
Starting to build that momentum and let them seeds.
Yep.
some seeds grow. So yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, if you're part-time, you went full-time, I was going to ask you, like, what advice you would have for somebody who has a job, who's part-time real estate agent. They want to go full-time. You know, you're brand new, so I mean, you're just getting the front end of this enormous snowball that you're building and all this momentum that's building up. You're not even seeing it yet.
Yeah.
Like, from your perspective of just going full time, you took the leap of faith. You're not
Yeah,
even
that's what it
you're not
was.
even you're not even across that huge gap of faith to the other side yet. You're still in between,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make this thing work. What advice from your perspective of not even really getting there yet do you have for somebody who is thinking about making that leap of faith? You know, they have a full-time job, they're doing real estate on the side, they hate their job, they want to do real estate full-time. What would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them a couple of things. I think I've realized this even though I haven't been in that long. I mean, real estate really is a full-time commitment. I mean, if you really want to have a good reputation, or sorry, stumbling over my words here. If you want to have a good reputation in the real estate business, then you really have to be available for your clients. So it's really hard to service the clients that you have when you're part-time and really establish yourself as a standout agent that's there for their clients. But not only that, unless you have a lot of connections, there is a lot of work that you have to do to build and establish clientele. And I realized, man, you just can't do that when you are an agent part-time. It's just impossible to, I mean, you either delegate the time to prospecting, but then the leads that you do generate, it's really hard to work those leads if you don't have the time when you're working part-time to actually turn those into sales. Or if you're just focusing on your sphere and people, you got your license and you got a few friends that want to buy or sell, you put all your energy and time into that, but then you're not going to have the time to fill your pipeline and prospect. So, I mean, my advice would be, if you are part-time in real estate, then I just hope that you've made the decision and you know that you have the ambition to want to sell. Because if you don't, as soon as you make that leap of faith, if you don't have the energy and the drive and ambition to do the prospecting, then you won't see the fruits of that labor, and it might take some time. So, but the one thing I would say is, yes, it does take time. So have yourself a little bit of a nest egg where you can afford to survive for a little bit, because like you always say, you can't control the result. So you need to give yourself a little bit of time, even if you're prospecting, busting your butt. You should still have a little bit saved up in order to support yourself. And even me not having a lot of expenses, it's what I did have, you can see how it can dry up pretty quickly when you're not doing anything and you have to pay for stuff. So, but yeah, if you're going to make the leap of faith, before you do it, just make sure you're committed to the grind and the everyday prospecting and doing things like cold calling that can be uncomfortable, knocking on doors that can be sometimes uncomfortable depending on who you are, and doing all that stuff. You got to know that you're ready to make that full-time commitment.
No, dude, you said it, man. That was beautiful, man. You seem to have so much knowledge, man, at such a young age. I mean, it seems like you're kind of wise beyond your years and stuff. Like, what do you attribute this to? I mean, not your ordinary 22-year-old here.
Well, I think part of it, a lot of it, I honestly, attribute to family. But I think I tried to kind of stay on the straight and narrow in high school, never really got into drinking or you're doing drugs. I came from a line of business owners and, things of that nature. But I think a lot of it is just, I've always kind of had a vision way beyond right now. So I know that it would be a lot more fun to be 21, 22, going out to parties on the weekends, going out to frat parties and college parties. But I'm trying to think long term. And when I think long term, I'm like, man, I would rather enjoy 35, 40 years of retirement, have a beautiful wife and kids, be able to provide for my family and do all those things and sacrifice some of the fun, in order to provide and to know that I have a lot to look forward to. So I've always just kind of thought ahead in that respect. So that was a big reason why I got into real estate to begin with, because I knew that real estate was such a great opportunity to build that kind of lifestyle for yourself. But I think too, just I like learning. So just having having an agile mind and just learning to have a good vocabulary. Like, I don't have real estate figured out yet, but I know how to present myself in such a way where I can fake it till I make it, and I can learn all the things I need to learn about real estate along the way. So you just can't let any of those things stop you from just jumping into it. And again, like you asked me how I'm wise beyond my years. It's not as much about wisdom as it is about mindset. And in real estate, that's really the pinnacle of everything that you're going to do is your mindset. And if you have
but that's wisdom, bro. Mindset is wisdom, and knowing how to think and knowing how to act. So, like, are you reading like 20 books a day? Or you
I wish, man. My girlfriend and I, we started a book club. We're picking books to read every month. But I mean, I've read investment books here and there, and I try to read when I can, although I should more.
So you think you were just born with this mentality, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why I think I was able to do well in not in real estate, sorry, in appliance sales, just because I kind of had just a knack for linguistics and talking with people and things of that nature. And that's why with real estate, I realized, okay, I recognize that that's a strength of mine. I'm not the most technical guy. I tried to do mechanical engineering in high school. I don't have the book smarts for that, but I have the kind of energy and personality, and I know how to talk to people to where I know real estate is my strength. So if I don't play to that strength, then I'm really not taking full advantage of what I've been gifted with, because it's really something that's out of my control. It's just something I've been given, and I'm trying to utilize that to my full potential. And I'm never going to be the guy who's going to do complicated projects, but I can talk to people and navigate the nuances of the real estate market. So I'm just trying to play to my strengths, and that's really what you got to do in real estate, is find out what works for you. So for me, that happens to be talking to people. So that's why I cold call all the time.
What you have to talk to people to do deals. Like, there's no deals, not a deal in history it's been done without a conversation.
Yeah.
You might have a couple that, bought it through email. And so I even did like maybe one or two in my career, but like overall, people have to talk to someone to get to know them, to find out how to help them, to go through the process, to get to the closing. It's just not going to happen any other way. So why not just have as many conversations you can possibly have, and put your name in as many hats as you can to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed. So, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head here, bro.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes in just people are afraid and people are scared. But I'll tell, for people who are afraid of like the cold calling, let me tell you something crazy. So I use Ricky's scripts, and it's not just about the script, it's about the way you come off on the phone. So I get into the mindset, okay, I'm literally calling to help these people. So that's the mind state I have. That's the way it comes across. And so you definitely have to get there in order to experience what I'm about to tell you I've experienced. I've had more people that say, I don't need your services, but I am hella impressed that you're making these phone calls and prospecting for business. I have more people tell me that than people who have hung up the phone or told me to screw myself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you make an impression on people by doing that, because you're showing everybody that you're working harder than every other agent. Nobody else is doing this stuff. I've never had anybody tell me, oh, you real estate agents, because nobody else is doing this. No, I mean, there's very few people that are doing it. So it's like, it's really crazy and mind-boggling. And honestly, people tell me they're afraid because, they hate getting cold calls. And it's like, you know what? All I get now is robocalls. It's a breath of fresh air when I get a live person on the telephone. You know what I mean? Like, that's an advantage as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it's like, regardless of how good you are at cold calling, like I may have done it a little longer, and it may give me some advantage, but it doesn't matter. Your conversion and you'll connect with people better as you do it. But if you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, some will stick. If you're a little better at it, a little more might stick than somebody else. But you will get there if you just do it. And there's no way you won't do deals if you just do it. So why not just do it and then get better as you go? You're, like you say, the practice is on the telephone. People are like role playing and all this stuff, and they don't get on the phone. But you got to throw yourself into the fire and get into the real deal to learn. And that's what I'm just like, screw it. I don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable with it. Now I love the grind and the process. And I sit back in my chair. My heart's not racing anymore. I'm comfortable with it because I've done it. So, you know, knowing that I was the person that started there and was not confident and now have all the confidence in the world on the telephone, every single other person that just forces them to do it, I guarantee you will get to that place if you just do it. I promise.
It's like anything else, man. Like me speaking, public speaking, I just went to Brazil, you know, and spoke to over 800 Brazilian Remax agents that speak Portuguese, right?
Yeah.
Videos coming soon. Is the best speech ever, biggest crowd ever.
Wow.
You know, and I was, of course, a little nervous. But see, the thing about it is, man, is if what you're doing does not make you nervous or doesn't scare you, then you're not growing. You're not doing, if you're not getting out of your comfort zone, like where you stay comfortable. Like if you like that word comfort zone is there for a reason, because you're comfortable where you are in life, financially, health, spiritually, family, all of it. You're comfortable. And if you don't get that little feeling in your stomach and something scaring you, then you're not doing anything to grow. I mean, it's so true, man. I was talking to, or I was watching a Will Smith video.
He's great. He's great, man. I love, not to cut you off, but go watch his inspirational videos on YouTube if you haven't, if you're watching this, because you need to. It's great, good stuff. Anyway.
Well, it was so funny because the day of my big speech, I was in my room. I was kind of going over my speech in my head. I was getting dressed, and a Will Smith video popped up. You know, a new video on YouTube, and it was his family trip to Coachella or whatever it is. And so his son and daughter were performing there. You know, and so he travels there, and he performed too with his son Jaden. And Jaden said how nervous he was because the crowd was so enormous and they were about to go out here and just make it happen. And then the video kind of slowed down and it turned into this kind of motivational music and slow motion. It was Will Smith talking in the background about being nervous and how important it is for your growth, and like how you need to gravitate towards things that scare you, things that make you nervous, pushing yourself to keep going and to do these kind of things. I mean, sometimes, man, like when some of my beginning speeches and also like when I was making phone calls in the beginning, I would literally think to myself, man, I don't know if I want to do this, because I was so scared. Like I was so scared to make that call. I was so scared to get on stage in front of all these people. It was like I was trembling in my legs, and it was a feeling of like freezing. Like I think I might get up there and forget everything I'm going to say, or get on the phone and just forget what I'm saying and just be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And when you get to that point, then that's a fork in the road. And you can either go this way and keep going, right? Or you can, it's not even a fork. It's just continuing to go forward, or you can go backwards. There's no fork, actually. It's just forward, keep going, or stop and go backwards. So man, it's huge, and it's really cool to see people like you get to that little road bump and say, that's just a road bump. I'm going to keep going. And then when you keep going and you realize how incredibly amazing making the calls are or speaking is, and it becomes addicting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, like it's so addicting when you finally realize that talking to people is the key to everything, meeting people, helping people, and learning how to communicate with people. And then like when you have those really incredible conversations and people just love the fact that you're there to help, it becomes so addicting. And then your business just starts to explode, you know? So I don't know, man. It's something I think about a lot, because I think that right there, what you just talked about, is one of the biggest things holding people back.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, if people could just see, you know, all of the, not just potential business that could come from it, but just the gratification of knowing like it's not a bad thing to sit back and look at the fact that hey, give yourself some love. You just made 200 calls and you did something that you were uncomfortable with. Like, you deserve a pat on the back for, you know, a lot of people, you know what, I might go on a limb here and kick myself for it, but I'm sure there's been, you know, 80% of people who've stumbled upon your videos that have made a commitment to themselves that, yeah, I'm going to do this, and they don't follow through. So if you're one of the people that does, I mean, you deserve all the credit in the world and all the support in the world from people in this group and otherwise. If you have a really good day on the calls, like, throw that up on Facebook, tell everybody about your call stats, like things like that. Like, you know, I mean, just having the gall to do it, and just doing something that's so uncomfortable, like calling people that you don't know can be, stepping up to the plate and doing that is super impressive. And, you know, you should be proud of yourself for getting up on the horse and doing it. And honestly too, you should do it, because if you want to provide for your family and you want to be successful, then you should want to do it. But it does take some, it definitely does take some motivation. And, you know, don't be afraid to give yourself a pat on the back for stepping up to the plate, because a lot of people won't.
It means that you really do want to succeed, and you really do want what you say, because a lot of people talk about it, but very few people actually take the actions they need to. And then even fewer people take those actions consistently as long as you need to get to those huge goals that everybody wants. Everybody wants to make $1 million, right? But nobody wants to put in 15 hours a day for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know?
And if it were easy, I know it's a cliche, but if it were easy, everybody'd be doing it. But the thing is, it's really not materially, it's not hard. It's just the road. It's not hard to make phone calls. Anybody can make phone calls. It's the mental hurdle of doing it that's hard.
Yeah.
You can get past that. The actions to get to where you need to be successful, that starts with those cold calls or those door knocks or whatever your medium is, that part of it's really not hard. It's just the mental roadblock can be the hardest thing for people, but taking the action is not
You
hard.
holding yourself back, you know, people holding themselves back. And this is why I created the levels, you know, Gem, Emerald, Ruby, and the Zero to Diamond system, so that if people that do push through that discomfort and make those calls and do the 90-day action plan and put that work in, that's showing me through their actions that they actually want what they say they want. And it's giving me permission to spend more time with those people and those agents to help them get to diamond or $500,000 a year or whatever their goals are. Because I found a lot of people, you know, a lot of people want $1 million a year, but there's a lot of people out there who do not want $1 million. You know, they just want to get to 300 a year. They'd be really happy, or they want to get to, you know, $500,000 or even 250 and stuff like that. So, well, Parker, dude, I really appreciate your time, man. You know,
No, thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, from the Zero to Diamond family, dude, to you, man, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your wisdom at such a young age. It's really inspirational. I know a lot of people is gonna get a lot of value out of this, as it's gonna be on YouTube forever. And you know, what else? Is there anything in the world I can do for you?
I mean, you can keep doing what you're doing, and that's a value to us all. You know, just honestly, the biggest thing for me that you've been helpful to me and all of us. I mean, it's crazy to be on the scale that you are and to still answer people personally, and I think that means an awful lot. But I think it's more important what you have done and can do for people continuously every day, and that you have allowed people to believe in themselves and that they can do it. And my one, I guess, piece of advice, if you will, I'm in no position to give any real estate. I mean, look, I got into this business. I've never done construction. I mean, I barely knew what drywall is. Like, I knew nothing, and I'm still working my way up. But having somebody instill the confidence that somebody like me can do it, and I'm still in the mix and in the fire figuring that out, but I know because of your coaching that it's possible if you take the right actions. I hope everybody else who's listening to it that's feeling in that state that I felt while I'm trying to figure it out and while I'm still in the mix and still in that fire, I want everybody to know that, you know, you can do that, and your teaching should make everybody believe that. And me and Ben Steven and Chad May, you know, all the other people that you've talked to and people that are doing things for themselves, it's because they've adopted that mentality and they truly believe that anybody can do it, that they've been able to get there. So, you know, I think you've done a good job telling people how you have been there once, just like everybody else was. And there was one point in your career where you had never done a real estate deal and somebody had to trust you to be the one to do it for them. And that's where every single person starts. And I think that you've done a great job just instilling that confidence in people and telling people that, look, I was in your position once. I still get nervous on the phones. And, you know, people just need to know that, I mean, zero to diamond, Ricky started at 0 one day too, just like all of us did. And the stuff you teach, it works, and it's worked for you for a reason.
I remember that first listing, man. I remember it. It was like 6 months into my career because I closed.
It's a good feeling.
Because I had my first.
Bro, come on. You're Ricky Carruth. Ricky, all right. I mean, if you're what Ricky Carruth didn't do a deal until 6 months into his career, like how crazy is that? And look what you're doing now. Like, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah, 6 months in, because I closed it within. I had my first closing in 8 months, so I must have listed it within 6 months. And I remember, dude, I was in the truck with my dad. We were, you know, I was still roofing, and we were like, I think we were on a lunch break, and we were coming back to the job site. And I remember getting the call from the guy, the first call from him, and he was just like, he basically just like gave it to me, because like up to that point, and like after a year and a half, I look back at the first 6 months of my career at all these opportunities that I didn't know how to capitalize on. There was like people that were telling me that they wanted to sell, but I didn't really catch the hints. You know, I didn't know the lingo. I didn't understand how to capitalize on it. Looking back, there were all kinds of listings I could have had, lots of them. I just didn't know how to capitalize. But I remember this one, man. I remember it very clearly. And he called and he basically just gave it to me. Like there was no like, you know, I was like surprised, like, really? You want me to list it? You know, like I was almost like, are you sure? You know, like,
yeah,
I don't know if you want to list it with me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember going and we had to fax it. There was no electronic signatures yet. I had to fax it. He faxed it back and sold it within like 30 days. So yeah, I mean, it was really looking back on that, you're right. You know, somebody at some point had to say, you know, I trust you with this property to sell it. I don't know why the guy did. I sent him a letter or a postcard or something, and he called me and just listed it right then and there. It was amazing, to tell you the truth. And that was the start of my career. I started selling 2 a month for a while, and then the market went crazy, and then boom, I lost everything. The rug got swapped out from under me. But, you know, that's what made me who I am, you know, and I basically went from 0 to diamond back to 0 to diamond, you know. So, well, cool, man. We're going to call it a day. Been a long time. Good chatting with you, catching up.
Yeah, you too, as always.
All the wisdom and stuff. And guys, if there's anything me or Parker can do for you, we're always here. Anything, just reach out to us. Parker's in the group, very active. And, you know, we love you. So anything we can do for you, let us know. We'll talk to y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good weekend and crush it. Peace out.